Oh, thank you. All right. What happened? Did you do the wrong?
We had 5F tonight.
I was trying to eat my vegetable.
So we're doing D.
Here's what we should do.
Okay.
We should just have all of this due Monday.
Yes.
Because today is just such a good for you.
Yeah. What about the responsible kids? What's that?
And I'm just so excited for that amazing assembly.
I agree that a statement.
I am really.
I agree with that statement.
Just because I lost my book, so now I just came out.
All right. Yeah, buddy, you're on.
My tears of kindness
Maybe we didn't take that far into the future.
All right. Questions on 5D.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. Number 10. Perfect. So number 10, I get this. That one? All right, so it is an inequality, so we're going to have a solid line because it has the equal sign. It is a parabola. It opens down. Sound good so far?
Yes.
All right, so let's figure this out. I don't remember, does the instructions say find the vertex, axis, symmetry, and 4 other points or something like that?
I don't.
Look
Just
at it.
says
Graph?
graph each
Can we have a
quadratic
or
inequality.
something?
Sure, I'm reviewing.
Oh my.
This was last night's homework. I'll review that. How's that? All right, so I get negative 6 over negative 2 equals 3. So my axis of symmetry is 3. My vertex, how do I figure out my rest of my vertex? I have the 3 comma something.
We plug it in.
Plug it in. So I'm going to plug 3 in here, so that becomes 9. But the negative outside needs to come along. Plus 18 minus 6. So negative 9 combined with negative 7 is negative 16. Negative 16 added to 18 is 2. So I get 3 comma 2. Is that okay so far?
Yeah.
I'm going to go right 1, down 1, left 1, down 1. From there, I'm going to go right 1, down 3, and left 1, down 3. And that's what it looks like. And it's solid. So what's a good point that seems to be either outside or inside the parabola?
0.
Yeah, 0, 0 is a nice one. We plug that in. I'm going to get 0 is less than negative 7, right? Because if I plug it in here and plug it in here, I get zeros. So is 0 less than negative 7? False. Shade inside. We good? 13, yeah. Can you read me what number 13 says? Go ahead.
Y is greater than negative 2x squared minus 8x minus 5. And then it's also y is greater than x squared plus 4x plus 4.
Plus 4x. Just plus 4. So we're going to graph 2 of them on this graph. Is that right? All right. They're both dotted parabolas. Agree? Everyone feel comfortable with this? All right. So the top one, I have negative b. So negative negative 8. X equals negative negative 8 over 2 times 2. Oh, this is a negative? Thank you. So that's, and then that's over negative 2. All right, so negative over negative, or negative times negative over negative has got to be a negative answer. And then I get 8 over 4, which is 2. So if I take negative 2 and plug it back in, this is going to give, if I plug negative 2 in there, I get positive 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. Excuse me. Plus 16 minus 5. So I get 16 minus 13, which is 16 minus 13. Negative or positive?
Negative.
Should be positive.
3. Positive.
Cool. So we got 3. That's okay. All right. So negative 1 and positive 3. So this is a dotted. It's going to go right 1 down 2. Left 1 down 2. So it kind of looks like this. So 0, 0 is definitely inside that one because if I had made another point, I'd go right 1 down 3. Is that all right? And second equation, let's see, I'm going to go x is equal to negative b over 2a. So I get negative 4 over 2, which is negative 2. So if I plug negative 2 in, negative 2 squared is 4 minus 8 plus 4. So that looks like 0, I believe. Agree? So negative 2, 0. Negative 2, 0 is here. And that's going to go right one, up one, left one, up one, dotted. Okay, so I think we could still use 0, 0 as our test point. Agree? Come on, go green. Go green. There we go. Okay, so 0, 0 is inside the red, outside the blue. Agree? Does that make sense if I say that? It's inside the red, outside the green. All right, so I'll plug it in. On the top one, I'm going to get 0 is greater than negative 5. That's true. So we shade inside the red so far. Okay? If I plug 0, 0 into this one, I'm going to get 0 is greater than 4. Is that true or false?
False.
So that's false. So I'm going to shade inside the red and outside the blue. So it's this region here that's going to be the shaded region. Does that make sense? So again, because 0, 0 is inside the red and it's outside. Oh, wait. Time out. I just goofed that up. Oh, good, it came out. All right, so I'm inside the red. Outside the blue was false, so I have to shade inside the blue. So here's my shaded region. Inside the red, inside the blue are the two that get shaded. Because the test point 0, 0 was outside the blue, and that gave us false. Good so far? Any other? Oh, there's a whole bunch of homeworks. Let's see, George, yours is in here. All right, and Sam, you here?
Yeah.
See what else is in there. What other questions from last night's homework? Yeah. Ooh. 8. Tell me, please.
It's y is less than x squared minus 2x plus 1.
Like that? Just gonna graph it and shade it?
Yeah, we just said that.
Sure. I think Fiona had one too, so I hit that too. X equals negative b over 2a. So I get 2 over 2, which is 1. So if I plug 1 in to get the rest of my vertex, I'm going to get 1 squared. That's 1 minus 2 plus 1. So that's going to give me 0. So 1 comma 0 is right here. And a pattern graph going right 1, up 1, left 1, up 1, right 1, up 3, left 1, up 3, dotted. Where does it appear 0, 0 is in this graph? Outside or inside? Seems to be outside, so it's still an okay test point. Plug it in, so I'm going to get 0 is less than 1. True or false? Is everyone okay with how quickly I did that? Everyone understand that this is going to give me 0, this is going to give me 0, 0 plus 0 is equal to plus 1? Okay, so that means I'm shading outside. Okay. Fiona, what'd you have?
Number 14.
14. Can you tell me what it says, please?
Y is greater than or equal to 6 minus 2x squared. And then y is greater than 10 minus x squared.
Okay. So this one they try and goof you up because they have it kind of out of order. It's not in standard form as it sits because it's not in descending order, but I think we could still do it. Looking at this problem, which letter are we missing as far as the A, B, and the C? B. We're missing the B. That means if we're missing the B, my vertex is going to be 0 comma something and 0 comma something. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Because you go negative B over 2A, right? That's why it's going to be 0. So on this top one, that'll give me 6, and this will give me 10. Both parabolas open upside down, correct? All right, so 0, 6. And that's going to go right 1 down 2, left 1 down 2, right 1 down 6, left 1 down 6. And that's our solid parabola. The other one's going to be a dotted parabola, agree? 0, 0 seems like a good test point so far. So this one's going to be 0, 10, so that's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then that one I can go right one, down one, left one, down one, right one, down 3, left one, down 3. So this is dotted. So this one's kind of overlap it. Actually, take it back. It's fatter than it. Sorry. So this one's just a little bit fatter than the blue one. The reason is because you have a vertical stretch in the vertical direction. All right. 0, 0 is inside the blue. 0, 0 is also inside the purple. Agree?
Yeah.
So if I use my test point 0, 0, plug it in, I get 0 is greater than or equal to 6. True or false? False. So that means I need to shade outside the blue. But let's see what this one's going to yield me. I get 0 is greater than 10. True or false? False. So they're both false. So where do I shade these parabolas?
Outside.
On the outside. Making sense? And last one, go ahead. 7. Can you say what it says, please?
It says, y bigger than 3x squared minus 6x.
Minus 6x, just like that?
Yep.
No c value? Okay. So my b value, let's see, negative b, so negative 6 over 2a. So that's going to give me 6 over 6. So we're going to have 1 comma something. So if we plug 1 in here and here, that's going to give me 3 minus 6. So I get that for... And if I pattern graph it, I'm going to go right 1 up 3, left 1 up 3, and then I can go up 9 if I wanted to. 9. Dotted. Cool. I'm not going to pick 0, 0 because it's right on the line. Does that make sense? But can I pick 1, 0? And if I pick 1, 0, would everyone feel comfortable saying 1, 0 is inside the parabola? Okay, so that's an x and y value. So I have 0 is greater than 3 times 1 squared, which is 3. 6 times 1, so I have negative 6. So 0 is greater than negative 3. That's true. So I shade inside the parabola because that's where the true exists. Cool? All right. If you don't want to hand that in today, you're totally fine. Let's just hand it in after the weekend. But let's hit to our notes. If anyone has an old assignment that they'd like to hand in, just come put it on this orange folder. But if you want to hand that in later, that's fine. Yeah.
I have one assignment in the Power book or in the Power School. That's 4 out of 10.
Ooh. That might have been the last assignment I just put in, so I will make that change.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah. I was putting grades in early this morning.
Grade books.
It was tough. I was putting in grades this morning. I got to school at like 5:45. I was drinking scotch. I spilled scotch all over your papers.
Yeah.
Wait, in school?
Sarcasm. If you have not figured this out yet, it comes out of my mouth all the time.
Wait, you were drinking? Dude, that shit.
That's why I record everything I do in my classes. So when the small phrase of, oh, he was drinking in school, can't go home because it's like, no, here's the context of it. It was in the video. All right. Actually, I don't record for that. I record so you guys and girls. Okay. All right, so standard form. That's where you would use the quadratic formula, can use it. You can try and factor it. This is our factored form. This tells us where it crosses the x and y axis. And this is our vertex form. As far as graphing parabolas go, the vertex form, in my opinion, is the best one to use because it gives you the vertex, and then you can pattern graph off of that. And again, guys and girls, pattern graphing is just magic. You know, if you're not feeling comfortable with it, come see me. Let's go through it, okay? Okay, and this is a lot of the results. So characteristics of a graph. The vertex is located, you could say it's at the turning point. Okay? And the turning point would be where the graph is coming down, and then it switches to going up, or it's coming up, and it switches to going down. It's the turning point. It's the highest or the lowest point, depending upon what your parabola is doing. The line of symmetry is always x equals negative b over 2a, which is the x component of your vertex, is the imaginary mirror line that you could fold your parabola over on top of. Find the x-intercepts by factoring, quadratic formula, and even pattern graphing might reveal it. Okay, anytime you have the x-intercept, that is a solution to the problem. Cool? The y-intercept is pretty simple. It's always 0, c, but you need to have this in standard form in order to find the y-intercept. The y-intercept is not an important point as far as the parabola goes. It's not one of the vital major points. I think finding the vertex, if you can find where it crosses the x-axis, and pattern graph, I think that's much more important than just finding what the y-axis is. If opens up, we have opens up if, I guess, A is positive, opens down if A is negative. Does that make sense? You could read my A's. And then vertical stretch if A is greater than 1. Vertical shrink if A is less than 1 or between 1 and 0. So it's a fraction or a decimal between 0 and 1. A lot of people think, oh, it's a vertical shrink because it's a negative number. If it's a fraction or a decimal between 0 and 1, that's where it's going to give you the shrink. That's what's going to make the graph fatter. Cool? All right, characteristics of a graph written in standard form, ax squared plus bx plus c. The line of symmetry, again, is x equals negative b over 2a. Once you find that, you know the x component of your vertex all the time. The vertex can be found by doing the negative b over 2a, and then plug in x, and that'll solve for y. The y-intercept is located at 0, c when it's in standard form. The other forms don't really reveal the y-intercept as likely. The x-intercepts are when 0 is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. So if you factor it, if you solve it by the quadratic formula, if you've graphed it and use your zoom, you can figure out where it crosses the x-axis pretty easily using the graphing calculator. If opens up, if A is positive, if opens down, A is negative. The vertical stretch if A is greater than 1. And then vertical shrink if you're talking, or it's not just less than, sorry. Less than x, which is less than, excuse me, 1. So again, it's a fraction or a decimal that's between 0 and 1. Everybody okay?
What is the vertex you found by, say? I can't read it.
Do what? Negative b over 2a, and then you plug that value in for x to solve for y.
Okay.
Good. Good stuff? Oh man, I finally cooled down. I was so hot. All right, the x-intercepts are at P comma 0 and Q comma 0. The line of symmetry is halfway between P and Q. Okay? The vertex, once you find the halfway point, then you can plug that in. Okay, so plug it in to get your vertex, which is your x comma y, or some people might refer to it as h comma k. Again, I wasn't at the math meeting that decided let's use h and k in place of x and y and really screw up society, and I'm sorry they did that. If your a is positive, opens up. If it's a is negative, it opens down. Again, vertical stretch. If a is greater than 1, if a is between A is between 0 and 1. I think I goofed up on this one. That should have been an A on the last one. That should be an A right there. Sorry about that. That's the letter A. Alright, so this is a useful form. If you ever want to take that and go back to your standard form, you just FOIL out. Of course, the people in Common Core say FOIL is bad to use, even though you've heard it since the day you started multiplying. I like FOIL. I don't care what Common Core says. Their whole, oh, it's double distribute. What? Right. FOIL works great. Some meathead that was like, oh, I know everything about that. It's like, no, you didn't. You want to know who put together Common Core? Teachers who sucked at teaching, who wanted to get out of teaching to write curriculum so they didn't have to deal with kids. There's your Common Core people.
Maybe they just wanted to
Sound like
play with
fools.
That's pretty sad, isn't
You
it?
said it, not him.
So guess what I didn't go do?
Bad.
Some of you might be thinking, dude, you should have been one of those morons right now. You suck at teaching. Okay. All right. Does anybody need me to go through to find the axis of symmetry on all of these? Okay. Again, it's x equals negative b over 2a. Okay. Or it's halfway in between these values. Does anyone need me to go through and show how I plug once I have the axis of symmetry, how I get the vertex for y? Does anyone need to see that? Yeah, so it's just negative b over 2a, comma, plug in. Okay, and then the pattern graphing, I think it's great. So on this one, I'll just list pattern graphing is 1, 3, 5. Pattern graphing on this one is negative 3, negative 9, negative 15. Of course, that keeps going forever. All you do is you just take this value here and multiply it by 1, 3, 5, and it's going to tell you if it opens up or down. This one's going to be negative 2. Well, going ahead of myself. Negative 2, negative 6, negative 10. This one would be 1 half, 3 halves, and 5 halves. Of course, you can make 3 over 2 is the same thing as going 1.5. 1 half, same thing as 0.5. 5 over 2 is the same thing as 2.5. Any questions on those? And again, I don't know if it's completely necessary for me to go through and find the vertex and the axis of symmetry on these. We've done them a lot. If you're starting to have struggles on it, I strongly need to encourage. Nice thing is, most of my after-school activities are done. So if you need help after school, you can come see me after school. If you're off 1st, 2nd, 4th, or 7th, you can come get help with me as well. Yeah.
This isn't really a how to do it kind of thing.
Good.
Like, when do we actually use parabolas? Like, ever?
Just, you'll use it on Monday. All right. Agree? Parabola open up or down? What's halfway? Excuse me. What's halfway between? 1. Okay, so I'm going to plug 1 in. 1 plus 1 is 2. 1 minus 3 is negative 2. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4 times that. You get a positive 4, so 1 comma 4. Does this make sense that this parabola should be open downward? Okay, I have a negative right there, so I think so. My pattern graph, right 1, down 1, left 1, down 1. If I went right 1, down 3, I get here. Left 1, down 3, I get here. There we go. So again, when you have this kind of situation, figure out halfway in between the points that would give you the x component. Then you take that x component and plug it in to the vertex. So to answer your question, where and when we use parabolas in real life, let me just tell you this. We do a disservice in math because math shouldn't be called math, and it shouldn't be called algebra, and it shouldn't be called geometry, and it shouldn't be called pre-calc and calculus. It should really be called training your brain to think in a sequential order to solve problems. Honestly, think about it. The people who don't pass Algebra 1 ever in life tend not to do as well in life than those who have gotten through calculus. We have a lot of data that shows you if you've gotten through calculus, you're making about $50,000 more a year than those who haven't. Now, everyone has the friend that, right? Everyone's able to one-up each other. Well, I got an uncle that he never did anything in life, dropped out in kindergarten, stabbed his mom, and now he's a trillionaire. Great. It's not everybody. I would say a lot of the times you have somebody, unfortunately, it's a lot of the mental health people who are out on the roads who are begging for money, but if you were to pull up to a light, ask them the highest math class they took, I'm being sarcastic because I don't want to put anyone in danger in case they're not mentally fit. Hey, what's this? What's the vertex here? -3 and -5. Good. Open up or down?
Down.
Up.
Apologize.
Right one up 2, left one up 2.
Oh, my bad.
There you go. Let's see, what else do I got? Is that it? This one, does anyone need me to do this one? It's a fat graph, open it up. Why is it fat?
Because it's
It's the 1/2. Hey, look at that. Holy cow, I got through something. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, so we are saying that we're going to have hang on, I got to look at this 5E. Yeah, I think y'all can do that. Okay, so 5D was assigned last night, yes?
Yeah.
So let's get that done. And then let's also have you work on 5E. There's an extra practice review in between them. Be cautious. Don't do the extra practice review in between them, okay? And we're out of here at 29, so I'm leaving you 9 minutes. Cool? Everybody happy?
I'm the happiest.